Well, hello. I'm back with you, class number 30 in the series. Tariff, taxes, overhead. What? Insurance too? Life can be so complicated. So let's talk about it. A sole proprietor is someone who owns an unincorporated business by themselves, making it unsuitable for a house of worship or church due to unlimited personal liability. You might want to take some notes, but remember, you can always come back and play the videos again. So, is a worship house a sole proprietorship? A worship house is generally not a sole proprietorship. It's not. A worship house is generally a religious organization, typically structured as a nonprofit corporation, or as we say in capital letters, a LLC, for the purpose to receive a tax-exempt status, section like 501c or 3 of the Internal Revenue Code, which requires it to be a nonprofit, not a sole proprietorship, and provide limited liability to its members, or I added this earlier, or business partners. So let's talk about money, business, and your future. Quick quiz question. I'm back. Do you aspire to own your own business? Is that something that you have been thinking about? How do you ensure there are plans in place for various emergencies or disasters that might occur? Think about emergencies that impact the entire worship house, concession stands, or small or large businesses. And we've talked about this before. Think about national emergencies like September 11th, 2001. And I give a shout out to Reverend Dr. Ann Lightner Fuller, who sat with me that entire day at church. The most recent federal closings and job losses occurred during the October 2025 government shutdown, which lasted 43 days until November 12, 2025. Thousands of federal employees were furloughed, and some were notified of layoffs. A continuing resolution later reversed many of the shutdown-related layoffs, and agencies were required to reinstate affected employees with back pay. A consideration for you. Why you may need to consider a business impact analysis, in parentheses, all caps, BIA, a business impact analysis, and a continuity of operations plan, in parentheses, capital C as in cat, OOP, a continuity of operations plan. As an addendum to your emergency operation plan, conduct a business impact analysis, BIA, in parentheses, capital, BIA, a business impact analysis. For what purpose? To address the following questions. We're talking money, future, whatever you're involved in, business, church. That's what we're talking about today. What procedures are in place if your and or community are rendered inactive because of a disaster, either natural or man-made? Have you experienced this emergency before? Let me just stop for a minute and talk about the two. A man-made disaster. There are acts of terrorism, cyber attacks, pollution, large-scale fires, structured bridge collapse like we had in Maryland. Yeah, we had a ship run right into our bridge, broke it up. So now the bridge has to be rebuilt. That is called a man-made disaster. In addition to that, I know you all have heard about the man-made disaster, recent one at Wang Fur Court in Hong Kong. That's south of China, due to a huge fire caused by styrofoam. And I found out the fire alarms may not have been working properly. Let me see if I have any other information. This occurred on November 26, 2025, and hundreds of people were injured and killed. That was a man-made fire. I didn't say who was at fault, but man-made. 2, I'm giving you some things to think about. What are your alternative plans if your staff are unable to do their work or even get to work? Got a plan? We talked about it early on, but I'm sticking a pin in it today because I want to make sure you don't forget anything and that you know to add to your EAP, your emergency apps plan. What if you have no way of reaching your employees, congregants, or critical employees? What if? 4, what are your critical operations, i.e. the nursery, if you're in food kitchen, human resources, payroll? What are they? I want you to think about them, jot this down, and make sure that they are in your emergency plan. During your emergency planning, assess which operations are critical to recovery from any disaster. Well, let's see what they might be. Tsunami, ice storm. This is a natural disaster. Firestorm, a sudden calamitous event, weather, earthquake, landslide. These are natural disasters. So doing your emergency planning, assess which operations are critical to recovery. 6, determine which staff, materials, supplies, procedures, and equipment are necessary to maintain operations until the business reopens. 7, at your worship house, identify all your programs and outreach ministries. I'm going to repeat them, some of them. Food kitchen, pantry, church, school, or daycare center. Those are some that we are involved in. So I just thought I'd, as Pastor Bob would say, throw them in the gumbo. 8, which operations are critical to your survival and recovery? Include emergency payroll, financial areas, an accounting system. Establish procedures for succession of management. Include one individual who is not located at building, business, or houses of worship. Someone needs to be able to take over if an emergency occurs, or if your CEO becomes ill and is hospitalized for any reason. They call it succession of management. So include that in your planning too. We're still planning. We're always planning. We're always considering man-made disasters, natural disasters, what could happen. Ensure that you have another facility to work out of, even if it's someone's home, I don't know, a predetermined site. So if this site burns down, you should have an alternate site you can use until you get back on your feet with all the considerations that we have been talking about for all of these classes. Where are you going to go? Where are you going to work? Have you made arrangements to work with another corporation or site if yours closes down? Or you could just switch and says, I'll work at yours, you work at mine. Whatever may happen, you're covered. Okay. Conduct outreach to community and customers so they will know what's going on with you, and that you will have the kind of relationship where you can let your customers know. Send them an email like, we're shut down, and this is where we're going to be operating. This is where the daycare center is going to be operating while we are shut down. Keep in touch. Have means to communicate with people who depend on your facility, depend on your lunch facilities every Wednesday or every day. Have some backup plan for them, if at all possible. At least let them know. Your soup kitchen, so that people can continue to access food. 9, you have already conducted your risk assessment. Remember, we did that early on. And impact analysis as part of the emergency plan. You've already done that. Plan for how you will communicate with staff during an emergency. Include all managers and senior staff who must evacuate the area out of state, county, and the primary business away from it. All of that needs to be talked about. If Joe will be in New York and John will be down in North Carolina because of the business that you do, what are your options? What are your alternatives? What are you going to do? Develop, this is 10, develop this crisis management procedure in advance and update, review, and conduct drills with tabletop exercises and the emergency plan at least annually to ensure the plan addresses various, if not all, scenarios. Yeah. And you know, we're always down in the weeds. I'm always sitting around thinking about, wait a minute, what might we have missed? So let's look at something else that you probably hadn't even thought about. This is news you can use, especially you young business owners, young pastors, just starting out and need some ideas as to what you might need to do next. It's called business interruption insurance. Oh yes, I'm going to take credit for introducing this to my church, although it was in the book and the books were in the library. They got right on it. Why business interruption insurance is important. Does that even sound like anything you've ever done or talked about? Business interruption insurance. Why is it important? Well, insurers knew the damage a pandemic could wreak on businesses. But they decided to exclude coverage. Lessons learned from 2003-3 SARS, S-A-R-S outbreak, led insurance companies to exclude coverage for many of the losses suffered today by business. Some industry watchers predict, and have predicted all along, a vital wave of litigation in the future, where the policy should cover losses due to the coronavirus closures, SARS, which infected 8,000 people, mostly in Asia, and is now seen as foreshadowing the future. COVID-19 pandemic led to millions of dollars in business interruption insurance claims, millions of dollars. As a result, many insurers added exclusions to standard commercial policies for losses caused by virus or bacteria. Other types of insurance policies may still have to pay out in the future. Personal travel and event cancellation policies faced huge claims worldwide from 2019 through 2020. Coronavirus pandemic, according to industry reports, few successful claims are expected to come from traditional business insurance lines because of the exclusion of virus-related damages. They knew what was coming, the insurance executives, and they just changed some things and excluded what their regular insurance would cover. So now most businesses, at least the larger ones, have business interruption insurance. That's something new. That's news you can use and news you should know about before a man-made disaster happens, before it happens. Insurance disputes caused by coronavirus showed the need for a government-supported solution, such as the National Pandemic Insurance Program, like the National Flood Insurance Program, which FEMA is in charge of. To date, about 1/3 of businesses have business interruption insurance, which intended to cover losses from an event that forces companies to suspend or stop operation. Many policies also have civil authority clauses that cover losses when government agencies stops a business from operating. A common example would be a fire that damages a restaurant and leads the fire marshal to close it down. That's no revenue for them, so they need insurance. And so will you. As you grow, you will increase your insurance, I do hope. The need to hire an attorney. Oh my, has it come to that? Absolutely. In previous chapters, I suggest, of my book, that worship houses, businesses, consult with and maintain a relationship with attorneys for liability in all business or complex insurance issues. The main lesson learned during coronavirus and SARS outbreaks is the insurance claim can be denied. I'm going to say it again. The main lesson learned during coronavirus and SARS is the insurance claim can be denied. So make sure you have it in place, the proper insurance. And I would go back and listen to this video again with your notebook. Quick quiz question. Requiring thought. Requiring thought. When you look back in a few years and think of 1925 to 26, what business factors will mean the most to you? It's interesting how we reviewed some of what had happened before with coronavirus, SARS, and all of that. But when you look back, I wonder what will mean the most to you? What will be the primary thing you might remember, and why will it even matter? This is 2025. 1. To amass political power and wealth as it is being used today, do you think your children will be impacted? Something to think about. It might impact what you decide to do or protect now. How will the economy and resources of the United States fare? What kind of report card will we get? I wonder. I may not be around, but you will be. And perhaps you will think about this conversation that we had. What will be your opinion of the United States goods and services during this time, I wonder? And how will you and your family members have been affected by the government shutdown of 2025? Summary. The above damages resulting from emergencies can cause devastating and long-term impacts on your business and bottom line. Pencils always up and eyes wide open. See you next week with news you can use. This is Lauren Holly Allen. Prepare before it happens at outlook.com. Send me an email. Like and subscribe.